Morning, John. Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Just want to make sure.
You are good. I have the styling and profiling still picture of you with the background of USA Soccer. So it is all good to go.
Yeah, we are back, and yeah, it was a great trip, and now preparing the debriefing process, and after a short breather, as you said, and get ready for the next thing. Yeah.
All right. So I'd like to raise my hand in the air and kind of start the debrief now. Is that okay? Can we go ahead and get like an early run in the debrief now? Is that okay? Get your reps in. Is that cool?
Let's jump right in. Yeah, love it.
All right. So when you normally do a debrief, let me start with this. When you do a debrief and it's not on a morning show, when you do a debrief and you're in that I guess that hermetically sealed glass encased conference room where no one can hear except everybody in there, and it's a glass table and chairs or Zoom or whatever, what are you talking about in the debrief first and foremost?
Great question, right? And in any type of process, you want to get all the stakeholders involved, right? So you have different kinds of debriefs because um, it starts with staff, and you have your internal one that would be like a technical staff. Then you have a more comprehensive one where you bring in the support staff. And then, of course, the most important bit, the players, right? How can we help them and keep progressing? And so we have debriefs with them, and that also takes place in the form of a Zoom call with good feedback and linking everything with the club, right? So depending on the space that they're in within their respective clubs, we try to connect the dots and give the club feedback. That way we can hopefully work together to accelerate each individual player's growth and development.
All right. So if you and I were to do it from, I guess, the coaching perspective, since I am long past my playing days, and I would be just kind of sitting in the stands or sitting looking at you the entire time, how would you gauge the overall performance in that 3-match sprint to get qualified for 2026?
Overall performance, I guess we're talking about a team, right? And
Mhm.
instead of just the individual player.
Yeah.
If you look at purely from objective, what was the objective is to qualify for the World Cup. So if it's just from the objective, I think you could check that mark off. And then you start to look at, based upon what we have spent time working on as a group, where we were and how much time we had to prepare. And so um, we always believe in optimism, right? And so did we take steps forward? Um, in which way? Where do we want to keep optimizing and getting better, and eventually testing ourselves against new opposition? So it's a never-ending process, right? And in your head as a coach, you have a vision of what you want things to look like, right? And you're always working towards how can I get closer and closer to that, knowing that perfection doesn't exist, but how close can what approach can we take to get there, and then also knowing that it's a completely different gig than being in a club environment where you can get on the grass every single day and really hammer things home, and so it's more about, in the next time that we get together, what do we really need to pick and choose to work on in our limited time to try to get closer to
So
where we want to be.
So when you're in that limited time frame, how much of a challenge is it knowing that you've selected a group and it's the group that you think is going to best accomplish the goal that you're setting out for? How much of a challenge is it for a coaching staff to cram for this test and then have to navigate match 1 to match 2 to match 3 to get to that overall goal of qualification? What's that like?
You have, I know it seems like cramming, yeah. The good thing is we do have time to prepare. So besides going through training sessions and potential meetings that you would organize to enhance learning, and you really just you want to try to get really everybody on the same page, right? So it starts with language. It
Right.
starts with everybody speaking the same way, and what may be one thing to one kid in one club is a different thing to another kid, and then obviously that's just the language. But then there's a style of play. But fortunately, with a lot of these kids, we've had them since Not all of them, but a lot of them we've had for almost 18 months, starting back at U16. So
Mhm.
they are familiar with the US way, which is a good thing. And it's just continuing to reinforce and try to take a lot of concepts and simplify them down to two or three things. So you look at what are two or three things that we want to be really good at with the ball, two or three things without the ball. And then you look at functional groups, right? So now maybe you're talking about a fullback and a wide forward, right? What are two things or three things that you guys really need to be in sync with the ball, without the ball? And then you go down to the individual, and it's the same type of thing to make it digestible for them, right? Because it isn't club, and you can't talk about 20 things. For us, is we need to pick two or three things from the team, the functional group, and the individual, and really become proficient at those, or try to be.
Head coach of the U17s, Alex Aldaz, breaking it all down with us from the big field trip. And I honestly did not know where St. Vincent and the Grenadines was when it came to looking at things geographically. I knew where it was, but I didn't know where it was, if that makes any sense. And so I'm going, man, you're like 2 islands away from the South American coast. That was a bit of a wake-up call for me in all of this. When we caught up with James Donaldson briefly when you were down there, he had mentioned that there were keywords, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, that you kind of gave the guys to sit there and attach to remind them about, okay, this is how we want you to play in a grand scheme of things. And so I thought that was really cool that you gave them those ideas to hang on to accomplish the goals. How did that come about as a part of your coaching DNA, where you sit there and it's like, okay, these are the tenets that I want you to hang on to, and it's just like little quick phrases and words to remind them about the day to day to accomplish what you want them to accomplish?
It's great. It's great, John, because it's something that we share with all our youth national teams, right? And if you think about a school and a curriculum where a kid would come in as a U14 with talent ID, and then you go all the way up to the U23s for the Olympic team. And if we're able to have those commonalities and that common language and vision of how our culture of who we want to be, and then what we want to look like as a team, it makes it easy for kids to progress through the YNT pathway. And so now, like what we referenced earlier, where we've been together for a certain amount of time for them, and as you know, familiarity brings comfort.
Mm-hmm.
And when I am now comfortable, now I don't need to use mental energy to try to figure other things out, and they can be more present in the moment of whatever it is that the game is asking for them to to execute on. And so it's for them. For us, it's trying to create more predictability amidst chaos, right? Which is what the game is a lot of times. And for them to know that in those moments where maybe it gets difficult, they can rely on one another, with to communicate with these common phrases and the common language itself.
One of those words that James mentioned was bravery. And I want to go back to the match 3 against the Dominican Republic. How brave were they in the match itself, which was a challenge, period? But then they had to be even more brave when they were down to 10 and had to hang on to the draw. How brave do you think they were?
Super proud of the kids. And I think we've all seen games in any sport at any level where when it gets tough and you see the team that's really under the gun, they crumble. And for the kids, it was a moment where they really showed tremendous bravery. So yeah, I don't think they could have done much more. So yeah, I thought they did great.
And when you discuss a match like that, I guess this goes into the discussions with players and Zoom calls when you're getting into your debriefs. Are there one or two things that you would discuss when it comes to the matchup against the Dominican Republic that might be separate and apart from the rest of the tournament, that would be a part of the debrief as like key talking points?
We really try to focus going back to those roles and responsibilities.
Mhm.
Um, and how did we execute, and be process driven, because you can't control outcomes, right? It's just about how are we improving in what we set out to do every single day. And we do talk about, so James, if James referenced bravery, that's one of our cultural anchors, right? And the three that we have are brave, diverse and relentless. And so we try to link game actions individually in functional groups and as our team to those, right? And we also have other anchors we call performance anchors, right? And that's togetherness, intensity, and communication. So yeah, we really just try to focus on how they reacted or how they dealt with certain situations within their roles and responsibility, not in things that they can't control.
One of the questions I'm sure that pops up with folks is they would look at, and this isn't just specific to the group that the U.S. was in this tournament, but across the board in the competition itself, and they looked at some of the margins of victory. And I'm sure that there were some eyebrows raised by fans looking at certain margins and certain clubs, and they were wondering, there's always that stereotypic question in their head about participation. Where do you think CONCACAF is right now as a region at the U17 level?
You see certain nations, John, making progress. And that's a positive because when you go into qualifiers, I remember the format when I first started working as an assistant with the federation, and we were with the '06s. So that would have been for the 2023 Under 17 World Cup in Indonesia. And it was a tournament format, right? Where you have your classic group of four, and then you qualify and you go into either a round of 16 or a quarterfinals. And you have to progress to a certain stage in order to secure the berth, the qualification for the World Cup. And so now it's different, as you know, and it's just this group of four, and you got to win your group. And sometimes people question and they say, yeah, but you don't play Mexico, and yeah, and you don't play Canada or Costa Rica or Honduras or Panama. But for us, I think it was fantastic that we had a game like the last one, right? Because that's what you want um, in every match. And a big thing that we need more of uh, week to week, and this is more for the club environments, is our kids, and you look at countries in CONMEBOL and UEFA, the kids that play in club every weekend, they're used to every single weekend. It's a battle, and it's an extremely difficult match. Um, and they're used to it, right? And that's what we need more of. That way, when we get into these types of matches, it's not a surprise. Whereas a lot of our kids are coming from an environment where, oh, we won 7-0 for four weeks in a row at MLS Next. That's not helping us to prepare. And so I think it was fantastic to get into a game like we did in the last one, and we just need more of those because it'll become customary for us, and it'll be a zone that's not out of it'll be a comfort zone for us to have to compete like that every single time.
Was getting out of your how different is it, I guess, in your comfort zone because of your time that you spent in the NCAA and at FC Dallas? Was this a move a couple of years ago when you got into U.S. soccer? Was this getting out of your comfort zone to try a new challenge? Where was this in your pathway of your coaching CV?
Um, I had a great experience as an assistant coach with the federation, and it's a learning organization, and I grew so much every time I would go into a camp, and I felt challenged. Um, and I thought when this opportunity came about, it was yeah, the proverbial no-brainer, and you have to go and keep testing and growing and developing always. And so um, super grateful and humbled for it, and every day is a blessing to attack the day and try to help these kids reach the MNT and their first team in their respective clubs.
Did you learn anything about yourself in this tournament?
I would say it was awesome managing a big team and getting everyone working together, not as if they didn't want to. Of course, everybody wanted to, but really giving everyone ownership and empowering and a sense of purpose. Of course, sticking to our culture. Just learn that when you're in these high performance environments, you can never take your eyes off you can't relax. It's like all the time. You have to be ready, on and off the field. Every detail matters. There's no moment that you can take for granted. And so just staying sharp and keeping on top of things. I don't know if I learned anything about myself. I just it was something I was suspecting, and it just confirmed that yeah, it's every single second, every single minute is important.
And reinforcement of ideas is just as important as learning things. One other question I had for you, and thanks for hanging out and batting leadoff here. Who's your favorite leadoff hitter, by the way? In baseball, who's your favorite leadoff guy?
Oh, I haven't watched baseball in a while.
Dude, I'm like a Rod Carew, Ricky Henderson type. That shows you how long it was that I was watching baseball.
You got me on that one.
It's all good. I wanted to ask about the U.S. way, because I know a lot of folks outside that may not necessarily watch U.S. soccer and national tournaments every single time out and on all the different age groups. They hear about the U.S. way, but they may not necessarily understand what that is as a process. How would you break down for someone who just drifts in to watch a tournament here and a tournament there? How would you break down what the U.S. way is and what it means to the greater picture?
It's our player development philosophy, I would say, and then also it's a big part of our cultural philosophy within our teams. To put it in a nutshell, in a short, concise answer, it's a development framework. Of course, we have documents and presentations which are lengthy and long, but it's really how we want to, as a federation, set out to work and partner with every single stakeholder within our ecosystem to try to help and let them know that we care, and from grassroots all the way up to professional. And so yeah, the intention is to make soccer the most played sport in our country, which, as you know, it's a tall order, but it's something that we strongly believe in. But then eventually to win a World Cup at the senior levels and at the youth levels, both men and women.
I'm looking forward to that one. That absolutely happens. I cannot thank you enough. Especially, have you got your sea legs back yet? Have you kind of gotten back to U.S. time and everything after the tournament?
Oh yeah, it was only an hour from Eastern time, so it wasn't a problem. And actually departing tomorrow to go help the 2010s. We have a futures camp in Fayetteville, so looking forward to helping the staff and that next generation of players.
And we can't wait for you to come back here to the Southern Crescent and get to those next stages. Cannot thank you enough for dropping by, especially the day before a travel day, coming back down here for the futures at the National Training Center. Alex Aldaz, head coach of the U17s. Thanks for coming in and batting leadoff for us this morning for the breakdown of what happened. And now you got to worry about Qatar in 9 months, which is going to be here before we know it.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. John, absolute pleasure. Yeah, thank you so much.
And you can come and crash at any time. If there's anything you want to vent your spleen about, you now have the keys to the kingdom, and you know where the garage door opener is. You can come in and crash at any time. It'll be good to catch up with you. Thanks again, Coach.
Thanks, John. Have a good one.
All right, there goes the head coach of the U17s and Alex Aldaz, and that was really cool. Once again, thanks to everybody at U.S. Soccer and Aiden Trusty for helping us out with that one.